covered units and all the different things you can do with it, we're ready to move on to one of the most useful and powerful tools in physics, which is unit conversion. Using unit conversion, we can turn any unit into any other unit of the same type. Now, you can't turn from one type to another. You can't turn feet into seconds or ounces into years, because that wouldn't make sense. They don't measure the same thing. But using unit conversion, you can go from feet to miles, you can go from meters to kilometers, and you can even go between systems. You can go from feet to kilometers and from centimeters to miles. And all of this can be accomplished simply by multiplying by 1. Now, I know that seems a little strange. How are we going to multiply by 1 and convert from one system to another? But if you hang on a second, you'll see. Let's start with the fact that 1 mile equals 5,280 feet. Now, this is a really awkward conversion, and this is why we almost always use the metric system when doing physics. However, in this case, it actually helps show off how useful this trick is. Now, like in last lecture, we can treat 1 mile as a variable, and this is an equation. So let's divide through both sides by 1 mile. The 1 miles cancel, leaving us 1 equals 5,280 feet over 1 mile. So now, because this equals the number 1, we can multiply it by anything without changing the answer we get. So for instance, 2 miles times 1 equals 2 miles. So 2 miles times 5,280 feet equals 2 miles. Once again, we can cancel out the miles terms, which just leaves us with 2 times 5,280 feet, or 10,560 feet. And this in the end gives us a very simple thing. It says 2 miles equals 10,560 feet. We successfully converted from one to another. So now let's look at a step-by-step process for converting any one set of units into another set of units. So let's take, for our example, we're going to be converting 120 inches into feet. So step 1 is to set the units equal to each other. We need an equation that equates inches and feet. Now, fortunately, this is very simple. 12 inches equals 1 foot. So the second step is to divide by the unit we want to get rid of. In this case, we're trying to get rid of inches, so we'll divide both sides by 12 inches. So we have 12 inches over 12 inches equals 1 foot over 12 inches. And then once again, the left-hand side just cancels out and leaves us 1. So now the final step is we need to multiply the thing we're converting by 1. We take the thing we're converting, which is 120 inches, and we multiply it by 1, which in this case we've decided is 1 foot over 12 inches. Hope you can still see that. And then the inches cancels out, and we're left with 120 divided by 12, or 10 feet. So by following these 3 steps, you first find 2 units and set them equal. Then you divide by the one you want to get rid of, and then you take this thing you found, which should now equal 1, and you multiply the thing you're converting by it. And this works both for things with 1 unit, like 120 inches, and as well as a more complicated problem that I'm going to show you in just a second. In this problem, we're trying to convert 2 kilometers per minute into miles per hour. And this looks a little more difficult than last time. Now we have 2 sets of units to worry about rather than 1. But in this case, we're just going to do it one step at a time. So first, let's convert kilometers into miles. We know that 1 kilometer equals 0.6 miles. So we can divide by kilometers and say 1 equals 0.6 miles over kilometers. Multiplying this by our 2 kilometers per minute, we get 2 kilometers times 0.6 miles over minutes times kilometers. And in this case, the kilometers cancel, leaving us 1.2 miles per minute. So now we're halfway there. We've gotten it from kilometers into miles. Now all we have to do is go from minutes to hours. So let's go back and look what we have over here. 1 hour equals 60 minutes. We're trying to get rid of minutes, so let's divide by minutes. 1 hour over 60 minutes equals 1. Now before we charge in and multiply this by our previous answer, we've got to look at something for a second. This answer has minutes on the bottom rather than minutes on the top. So we need to actually flip this. When the kilometers were on the top, we just divide by kilometers. But since the minutes are at the bottom, we need to divide by minutes and then flip. So this number, 1 hour per 60 minutes, becomes 60 minutes per 1 hour, but it still equals 1. So now let's multiply this by our answer. 60 times 1.2 is 72. So it was 72 miles times minutes divided by minutes times hours. Minutes cancels, and we're left with 72 miles per hour, which is our answer. So the trick here was to do it part by part, and when minutes were on the bottom, we had to flip the thing we were converting so that it would line up and cancel. And that's all.